mortgage renewals affect the housing market in 2025? Well, in this market report, we're going to look at the impending doom of mortgage renewals, and I'm going to let you know about some recent mortgage changes. And then we're going to recap the market numbers here in Nova Scotia for the month of November. And before I forget to ask, I would appreciate if you like this content, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button, as it goes a long way to letting YouTube know that they should put this video in front of other people who might like it too. Sharing is caring. Let's talk mortgages. There are more than 4 million mortgages, or about 60% of all outstanding mortgages, about to renew in the next 2 years. A big portion of these have not renewed since interest rates started rising in 2022. Even with the recent declines in interest rates, most of those borrowers with variable rates have faced significant increases in their mortgage payments since they first purchased in 2020 or 2021. The trick will be to get those variable rates down to a manageable monthly payment without triggering inflation increases. Now, these borrowers would have been subject to the stress test. So as long as the variable rate stays below 5.2, then technically these homeowners should be able to make their payments no problem. Now, the rate to watch is the fixed rate, which is tied to bond yields, which is heavily influenced by the federal bond market, which is impacted by the stock market. If the stock market is doing well, people buy less bonds. If the stock market is bad, then bonds become the preferred investments. With the higher price of bonds, the costs of borrowing become less, and the banks pass those savings on to consumers in the form of lower fixed rates. The Bank of Canada is projected to continue with its incremental decreases of bank rates over the next 6 months, which in turn will see the variable rate decline as well. Fixed rates tend to follow the relative trajectory of variable, but analysts are bracing to see what impact the next presidency in the U.S. will have on the stock market and the Canadian dollar. There are recent mortgage changes you need to know about. It used to be that if you had to renew your mortgage, you were stuck with the same lender or be faced to go through the stress test for an approval at a different lender. As of November 21st, you will not be subjected to a stress test if you would like to shop around for a better mortgage rate. Some analysts are saying that this will spur a mortgage war, and I say bring it on. Another change that will affect the higher end market is the insurable mortgage rate cap, which has been increased from $99,999 to $1.5 million. This means that you do not need to have over 20% down payment when looking to buy a home up to this price point. It does make sense to increase this threshold, as home prices have almost doubled in the last 5 years. Then there is the change to amortization, which has increased to 30 years for first-time home buyers and anyone looking to purchase a new home construction. Previously, you had to have at least 20% down payment or be a first-time home buyer purchasing a new construction to be eligible. Will this really help? 42.3% of respondents to a Zoocasa survey recently said rising home prices were their primary concern regarding home buying in this current market. Interest rates were the next biggest concern, followed by economic uncertainty, and then, of course, inventory shortage. As announced today, the Bank of Canada reduced the bank rate another 50 basis points, which will translate to a 0.5% reduction in variable mortgage rates. Now, I understand the government wants to get people into home ownership, but increasing borrowing limits doesn't help increase supply, it doesn't improve wages, and it doesn't reduce home prices. It does put pressure on the new construction industry, where we are seeing labor shortages and increased development costs. 1 in 5 construction workers are at or will reach retirement age within the next 10 years. As we are hearing increasingly, the barriers to increasing housing supply lays at the doors of the municipalities and the provincial levels. So there is only so much the federal government can do. The feds have offered the Home Accelerator Fund to municipalities. The feds have eliminated GST for purpose-built rentals and offer funding programs for multi-unit constructions. I do like the provincial program of assistance for creating rental space or in-law suites from existing properties. But with the increased building costs, even if one was to take advantage of the maximum limit of the program of $40,000, coming up with $80,000 to fund an addition isn't easy for most homeowners, and it won't get you that far either. Also, the down payment assistance program is great in theory, but it is difficult to find a home outside Halifax that is under the program's max price of $375. So how will the current economy affect the housing market? Well, with the current economic uncertainty, businesses are more apt to offer contract positions or positions with longer probation periods to make sure that new employee has the right skill set. These scenarios will make it harder to get approved for mortgages. Number 2, more and more Canadians are extending their credit to make ends meet. Non-mortgage debt has increased for Canadians 2.45% between 2023 and 2024. Mortgage delinquencies are still at pre-pandemic levels, but non-mortgage delinquencies have been increasing 21.6% from 2023 in the 26 to 35 age demographic. Number 3, I've started to see more and more this trend happening in the past quarter, and though these are what I call cost-conscious selling or financial flexibility moves. These folks don't necessarily have to sell, but are looking to lighten the financial burden and simplify their life. Nova Scotians are now looking to eliminate bill payments and use the equity in their homes to free themselves from debt. Moving to more affordable properties makes sense for more and more people in 2025. Now, it's not all doom and gloom in this month's market report, though. The good news is that folks are saving more than they have since the third quarter in 2021, and they've increased to 7.1% from 4.8% from the beginning of 2024. And there are still buyers out there as activity hasn't petered off as it usually does once the snow falls. I expect December's sales numbers are going to take an unusual blip upwards. So looking at the market numbers, as anticipated, month over month, market numbers show a sign of slowing as the selling season typically is slower from November to January. New listings are down from last month and down from this time last year, except in the Annapolis Valley where they had 2 more and Cape Breton had 10 more than this time last year. Median days on market has increased, so it's taking longer to sell properties. 26 days for Nova Scotia as a whole and 15 for the Halifax Dartmouth region, which seems like a lifetime. We are seeing 60 days in the Annapolis Valley and 12 in Cape Breton. But I feel Cape Breton and the South Shore agents have a different reporting method, so take those with a grain of salt. Now, if you look at the average days on market, we are seeing 90 to 100 days because there are properties that have been sitting on the market a long time, and that is skewing the data towards the longer side. Months of supply are getting less, as they typically do at this time of year, as sellers aren't relisting or listing their homes as much in the winter's months. So inventory becomes less and shrinking the month's worth of supply. Halifax Dartmouth, of course, has the least amount of inventory with 2.2 months. The Annapolis Valley has 4.4 months, and the South Shore has 5.9. Looking at the list to sale ratio, Nova Scotia is at about 89%, which is another indication that we're in a seller's market. The number of homes currently active has decreased from October due to it being the end of the selling season, but there are more listings on the market than this time last year, everywhere except for Halifax Dartmouth, which is down 2.9%. I just wanted to note here that I research market stats across Nova Scotia and Canada by reviewing other realtors, mortgage lenders, business analysts, CREA. Some look at the average calculations versus the median calculations. So just keep that in mind if you're listening to other reports, because the numbers will be different according to how they're calculated and from what periods they're being drawn from, especially when looking at home sale prices. Anyways, best to chat to an experienced local realtor. Looking at the number of homes sold for November, they are down all across the regions from October, of course, but they are up compared to November of last year. 8.6% for Nova Scotia and up 20 to 30% for Annapolis Valley, Highland, and Cape Breton region, most likely due to the lower price points. Sales are down on the South Shore, Northern region, and Yarmouth. Just a note here, homes less than a year old and new construction homes sold were also down from 79 to 57, and 34 in Halifax and 13 in the Annapolis Valley. The solds remained unchanged for the South Shore and the Northern region at 3 and 5 homes sold. The price of new homes have also dropped when looking at both the median and the average price calculations from October, except the median price for Nova Scotia as a whole, which was up to $629,900. New homes sold in the Halifax Dartmouth sold for $691,553. $435 in the Annapolis Valley, $352,860 in the Northern region, and the average price on the South Shore was $375,000 for a new home, and there was one home that sold in the Highland region for $220,000. There were no new homes that sold in Cape Breton or Yarmouth for November. And the number of new build listings dropped significantly in November. Now let's look at what homes are selling for in November. The Yarmouth region, which is a really small area, as it used to even have its own real estate board. The median price is up from October and up 27.6% from last year, coming in at $287,000. Cape Breton is down slightly from October and down 2.5% from last November, sitting at $229,500. The Highland region is in the same boat, down month over month and year over year, coming in at $240,000 median home sale price. The northern region actually increased $7,500 from October and 10.2% from November of last year, sitting at $307,500. The South Shore home prices were up 19.3% from November 2023, but down from October to $340,000. Annapolis Valley was also down from October, but again, October was a 5-year high for both the Valley and the South Shore. Even from November of last year, the Valley was up 11.5%, sitting at $360,000. Halifax Dartmouth's home prices were up 11.3% from last year and up $5,300 from October, sitting at $540,000 median home sale price. So as you can see, these COVID prices are here to stay. Nova Scotia is still in a seller's market as a whole, but buyers are a lot more knowledgeable these days about the market, so they know when properties are overpriced. So it's really important for sellers to review the market analyses that realtors research for them. Overpricing a property just to test the market can cost you in the end. So the Nova Scotia median home sale price for November was $430,000. This is up $5,000 from October and up 14.7% from November of last year. So any questions about the Nova Scotia real estate market? I'm here to help, and this has been The Real Deal with Dawn.